Dealing with sore joints or dry skin? Try All Balm. Our CBD topicals are fast absorbing, non-greasy, and smell amazing. Now available at 2U Wines in South Euclid. Sip, shop, and feel better naturally.
Everybody, welcome to another episode of the Pull Up Experience, episode 292 on the road to 300. Sitting with us today is someone who I am just truly respected. It's an honor for her to be here and sit down with us. Mm-hmm. She is a visionary and she continues to uplift some of the voices that are often unheard. She is a role model and she is out here making sure that she supports and fights for us. We have here today sitting with us guys, Congresswoman Shontel Brown. What an honor. What an honor.
It is an honor to be here on the Pull-Up Experience. I'm super excited.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
We are excited.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. It's an honor, like I was saying. So we want to get right into it. Okay. We know the temperature, the climate of the world right now is serious out here. Mm-hmm. So we want to, pick your brain and find out some things that you are passionate about and get some information so we know how to handle the situations to come.
Yes.
And so let's start from the beginning. What's your story? What got you interested in getting into politics?
Well, the short answer is divine intervention. And I say that because I never really saw myself being a member of Congress, first and foremost. But timing, opportunity, and preparation all came together for me. My story started in 2011 when I first ran for city council in Warrensville Heights. And what led me to that very first city council meeting were the earthquake tragedies that struck in Japan. Now, I don't know if y'all remember that, but it was a redundant news cycle. That was all that was playing on the news. And I'm like, oh my God, what happens if we have a natural disaster in Warrensville? Where do we go? Mm-hmm. And at the time I lived up the street from an elementary school and around the corner from a senior center. So I'm like, is that where the place we should convene if something happens? Mm-hmm. And that led me to my first city council meeting where I got the answer. But something said, keep going back so you can learn what's happening in your community. Mm-hmm. And what I learned was there was some room for improvement. Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. So instead of being a person that complains, I'm a person that believes in being the change that you want to see. So I decided I was going to run for city council. And in doing that, I kept going to the meetings. And the administration took notice, because if you've never been to a city council meeting, go. The people they're not well attended. And when you go, the people who are in charge will take notice. And they did. And so they said, if you need some help out there, let us know.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so as I was door knocking, y'all, let me tell y'all, the people of Warrensville Heights were not shy about telling me that things that they wanted to see done in the community. Okay. So they were like, this tree branch ain't been clipped in years. These sewers ain't been cleaned since I don't know when. This pothole needs to be filled. What can you do about that? And I said, well, let me see. So I used my cell phone. I took pictures. And I emailed the administration. So now they've got a record. They can't say they don't know what I'm talking about. Aha. They've got the address. Mm-hmm. They can't say they don't know where it is. Yeah. So we got a record. So guess what? Things started happening.
Oh, wow.
And I wasn't even elected, so I'm super excited. Fast forward, election day comes, the polls close. I was down by 6 votes. Down but not out, disappointed but not devastated. I'm a child of faith. I said, okay, I trust God's infinite wisdom. This must not be for me, but I'm getting stuff done. Who needs a title? I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. But little did I know there were 23 provisional ballots in the race. Oh. And if you're not familiar with provisional ballots, they're just in case ballots. Just in case you moved and didn't update your address, you might not be on the voter rolls. Or just in case you request an absentee ballot, it doesn't get to you, you go decide to vote in person, they're going to give you a provisional ballot. So if you change your name and it doesn't match, you'll get a provisional ballot. So these were 23 just in case ballots. They don't count on the night of the election. They count them 11 days later to make sure people aren't trying to vote twice.
Oh.
Right? So, yes. So 11 days later, I got a call from Ben. At the time, he was still a candidate. He had already clearly won his race. My good friend, Mayor Sellers. Okay. And he said, you won. And I said, shut up. What you mean? What you talking about? Not tell me. So he said, yeah, you won. I said, well, I have many. And he said 7. And I said 7. And as a child of faith, 7 represents perfection, completion, and God. And so that's why I often say it was divine intervention that really led me to the journey. So that's how I got started. So,
that's a wonderful story.
Thank you.
It's good to hear that you just started making the change. You saw things that were wrong and you jumped right in and started making the change. And I know you guys are listening, but that's sometimes we feel like we can't do it alone. Like, what can we do? It's just me.
Yes.
And that shows that you can.
You really can. And I think that the testimony in that too is, for me, is that I wasn't really, when I started doing the work, of course I wanted to become the council person, but I was also content that after what I thought was a defeat, then still doing the work, because I was getting stuff done, and that was the main thing. So sometimes it's not about the title, it's just about doing the work.
Ooh, wait, where is our buzzer?
That is the title of the episode.
So you talked a little bit about how you got started. So how has your upbringing, your culture, being a Black woman in this climate, how has that shaped how you navigate this political climate?
Yes, so this is we're in some very tumultuous times, right? A very unpredictable, unprecedented times as it relates to this current administration, who's doing a lot of things to really try to erase our history as Black people, right? They're really trying to whitewash history. And as a Black woman, I take it personal, right? When you talk about taking away resources that have had an impact on our community and making progress. And so my upbringing is one that probably is familiar to a lot of folks. I grew up in the inner city. My parents were high school sweethearts, but they didn't get married until I turned 5. Their anniversary is coming up, and it's on my birthday. My mom thought it would be cute for us to all celebrate.
Now why she do that?
All of you.
She
all
wrong.
of you.
She wrong for that.
Okay, so but we're gonna talk about that. I love you, Mom. But in the inner city, public schools, didn't grow up in church, but started going to church in the 10th grade because they had this program called the Youth Opportunities Unlimited Program, YOU. Yes. And so one of my summer jobs was painting houses, and it was at the church that I now call my church home. But it was, just being around people who were on the grind and really poured into us, just demonstrating their love. Like, we grew up poor but didn't know we were poor, right? Like, we just
I know exactly what you're talking about, because the love is there.
The love was there. Like, I lived on a street where we knew everybody from one corner to the next. We knew every person on the street. So the sense of community, the sense of connection, just that neighborhood love had been a real solid foundation for me. And so I think that just instilled a connection of community for me, and wanting to make sure that you look out for your neighbor, that you take care of people, and that you just be a good steward for others. So that was my background. I think it really played a lot into the person I am today as a public servant, just trying to always look for ways to help other people, because that's how I was raised.
Like, when we call that the village.
The village, yes.
So
The
if
village.
you don't know what the
It's
village
very
is,
important.
Yes.
the village is everybody in your community. That's everybody around. So did you have the village telling you, hey, the street lights on?
The street lights are on. You better hurry up and get home.
I had it.
Yep.
What you doing with that? Let me find. Y'all about to find out. You got
Yep.
that. You gonna get in trouble.
There you
You
go.
know. So all of the things. But it was, the village was very important, and it was the people on the street. It was the people around the community, of people around the corner. Like, everyone knew us, and we knew everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's definitely important, and I don't think we have a lot of that nowadays. We don't. But it makes a difference. It builds character. You have people that are examples for you to take from.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, my neighbors would, if one didn't have, the neighbor would, buy popsicles that week for everybody, so you go to so-and-so's house, they got all the freeze pops on the porch, we go around the corner to get chicken wings and the fries with the barbecue sauce.
Come on now.
Right? So we go split it. We got our sunflower seeds.
That bring back memories.
Right?
That bring back memories,
That's how I grew
for
up.
sure.
So those are fun times, and a lot of those folks are still very present in my life, and so they keep me grounded, they keep me connected, they inform me, they help inform me, like, what's important to constituents on the ground. And so that network of love, I refer to them, y'all say the village, but that's my Team Telly, is my core group. So shout out to Team Telly.
Okay, Team Telly.
Nice. And being involved in the community, I feel like that, especially from where you started, but knowing your community is a key part of being able to know what's going on and what's needed. So that's love. That's love right there. I do want to ask about, you've been very outspoken as far as racial equity, the health care, economic justice. What are you participating? What type of legislation are you participating in that you feel can make meaningful change, especially again given the climate of what's going on today?
Being in the minority in Congress, right now I'm a Democrat, and so right now the Republicans have the majority. So I don't fully expect that some of the things that I have been working on will get over the finish line, but it doesn't stop me from pushing, right? So I continue to push for policies, particularly that have an impact on people that look like me, Black women. So myself along with Ayanna Presley, representative out of Massachusetts, dope legislator, really have taken hold of the beauty and health industry.
Okay.
One of the things that we were really engaged in was the FDA banning the formaldehyde, cancer-causing agents, and the relaxers that are often marketed to us and that we use in our hair. And so we made a lot of progress with the Biden-Harris administration, and we're still pushing for that.
Okay.
But we know that these things are marketed heavily to our community, but we also know that they have had negative impact on our health. And so we've been speaking up and pushing back on that. Another thing that I'm proud about is the You Fight Act, which is dealing with uterine fibroids. So FIGHT stands, the U is the letter U, so it's the Uterine Fibroid Intervention Gynecological Health Treatment Act. And so right now there's no funding to deal with the issues around research around uterine fibroids, none. And fibroids impacts about 60% of women and about 80% of Black women, and it's the leading cause of hysterectomies in the nation. But even with all of this, no federal research. And so as a person who had fibroids, my mom had fibroids, it's something that we're trying to normalize the conversation around the issues that we deal with around our health, right? And so for me, being a fibroid survivor, if you will, I had a hysterectomy. Best decision I made, I will say that. But I know that might not be the case for everyone, because folks, dealing with this issue, there are other options available, but we need to normalize the conversation. And so pushing for policies like that have been incredibly important to me. And so I'll continue to fight for those things. And I'm fighting for things that impact everyone. We'll probably get into this, but this administration has been laser focused on cutting things like Medicaid and SNAP, and so I'm in the mix on that too. But things that are personal to me around women's health care has been a passion since I served on county council. I had led the initiative to declare racism as a public health crisis. That was in 2020 and 2021. And the work started in 2020, but we actually got it over the finish line in 2021. And I remember it very vividly because the work started around the infant mortality crisis that we experience here. We have first-class hospitals.
Yes.
But in some parts of this county, we have third world infant mortality rates. And so that just does not make sense. And so the research that we did over the course of the year determined that it was not socioeconomics, it wasn't education, but it was systemic, institutional, and structural racism that creates that disparity. So I wanted to do something to try to tear those systems down so that we could have a better quality of life. So.
Speaking on that, piggybacking on that, I know I'm a respiratory therapist, and I know that and I do pulmonary function testing. I test people who have lung issues and determine if they're getting better, if they're getting worse, determine the issue itself. And our testing is still using the old standard to where they consider Black people as having smaller lungs than every other race.
What?
Yeah, that has not changed yet.
That's crazy.
That has not changed yet. We still use that standard. And you have to put the race in, and when you put Black in, the numbers are changing because they're saying, okay, our lungs are smaller.
That is
crazy.
Yeah. And that touches a very personal thing, because my dad suffers from sarcoidosis of the lungs. So I might be talking to you afterwards.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right.
Welcome. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about what's happening now with this administration and how you are pushing back
Mm-hmm.
because there's so many things that are of importance right now.
Yeah.
So what would you say are some of the barriers you have? I mean, we know from the outside, but you're inside.
Yeah.
So what are some of the barriers that you're facing with getting some of this legislation handled?
So when you're in the minority, there's 435 of us in the House of Representatives. You need 217 other folks to agree with you to get things done when you're in the House. And we're in the minority. We don't have the numbers on our side as Democrats. It's a slim margin. It's a 3-person difference. And so that makes it incredibly difficult for us to lead on things. But there are a couple of Republicans, we often say all we need are 3, to vote with us to get things done. But we have been very intentional, very deliberate about trying to hold this administration accountable. And I guess I'm a little bit excited. Y'all, I know y'all seen about the bromance breakup, right?
Listen, my
I'm
Twitter.
like, is it real though?
Look, my
Is it
Twitter
real?
or
I'm
X.
asking, is it real though?
Listen, so this is the thing. I can appreciate the doubt, right? Because we don't know what's going on with those two.
I don't trust those
but I
two.
will say this. I serve on this committee called Oversight. The Oversight Committee is the committee that if you've ever seen a viral video, it's probably come from Oversight.
Oh,
the
absolutely. Every time.
The Jasmine Crockett, yes,
Yeah.
Melanie Stansberry,
Yes.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, like. That is, but you've never seen me on those viral videos, and that's for very good reason. Okay?
That's
I'm not
okay.
I'm not trying to go viral like that. But I love my folks. But it's the committee where we should be holding the administration accountable. We should be doing work around figuring out how we can be more efficient. And the DOJ committee falls under the Oversight Committee. And it just hasn't proven to be what they promised. And so Elon's departure, whatever it is, the fake feud or the real feud or not, is good, but the policies are going to continue because I don't know if people weren't listening or if they didn't believe us when we talked about Project 2025 because
I was about to get in on that.
Project
That was
2025 really happening right before our eyes. I actually quoted in my agriculture hearing. I'm on 3 committees, but in my agriculture committee, I'm like, their efforts, you're talking about what they're trying to do to shut down SNAP. It's on page 331 in the Project 2025 that they wanted to take this nutrition program out of this big package that we call the Farm Bill. And the Farm Bill happens every 5 years, and it should be a bipartisan bill. Historically, that's how it's been. We help the farmers get their things, and then we help the constituents who are suffering, who are food insecure or need a little help making ends meet through the SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Well, they're aiming, we thought initially to cut 230 billion, but no, that wasn't enough. They went up to 300 billion. And so what we did to push back as Democrats is we had hearings. The Agriculture Committee had a 16-hour hearing. The Energy and Commerce, where Medicaid and Medicare are housed, they had a 27-hour committee, nonstop. So we've been fighting, and in both of those committees, Republicans did not show up. They did not defend their position.
Don't even.
They just so it gave us an opportunity to really amplify to the public what's really in the bills. Because and then there was one other committee after that went almost 29 hours called the Rules Committee, and over 100 Democrats testified in these committees. We introduced over 500 amendments to this, what they're calling the Big Beautiful Bill, which is really the big bad ugly bill.
It absolutely.
It is going to devastate communities when you take away Medicare to the tune of $800 billion. You take away $230 billion, $300 billion for SNAP. Right here, if we just focus on the 11th Congressional District, 50,000 households depend on SNAP. And so we're talking about taking food. They're stealing food from my constituents' mouths to give billionaires tax breaks. And that's what's happening. And so we're doing everything that we can to push back on this crazy administration and the egregious cuts that they're proposing, because for every dollar spent on SNAP, $1.50 is put back in the economy. So, you know, it impacts not just the end user, but food supply chains, the farmers, the truck drivers, the grocers, everyone's impacted. So, so I don't think they think these policies through to the end. I think they see the end user and think, okay, I'm going to target that person, not accounting for the residual effects that they'll have.
And that's exactly how I feel about it, because I feel like, and I was having this conversation before you came, that I can honestly say some of the things I agree with. Like you said, we do need to go in and cut spending if it's not being used properly. We do need to, 100%. But there is a way to do things.
That's right.
And I'm glad you are here to make it more clear to people that, like, you are looking at the end. You're saying if it's overspending, if they're not doing right, if they're not doing their job, but you're not looking at everybody that's being affected. And my example was, plug a little bit, but Tyler Perry's straw. You know, some of these situations are, you know, somebody who is working 2 jobs, but they may be working 2 jobs. One is McDonald's and one is whatever, the grocery store, and they're just not making ends meet. So you're telling me if they're working their hardest, that you can't give them some help?
It's crazy.
You can't give them a little bit of help. Like, you know, everybody is not taking advantage of the system. There are people that do that, but you have to go through things with a fine-tooth comb. You can't just, like you said, this is what we're going to cut because we feel like there's overspending and people are taking advantage of it and the immigrants are getting it, and
there's so much misinformation around that. And so I love that you pointed out that there are people who are working 2 jobs often sometimes on these programs. And the reality is they will say, you know, we're cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. Well, SNAP is one of the most efficiently run programs in the federal government for starters. Okay. And the other thing is there are work requirements. There are already work requirements for these programs. So what they're doing is creating more paper work requirements, right? They're making it harder for people to access the programs by putting these additional hurdles and this red tape to demonstrate for people who've already demonstrated that they need the program. So it's more paperwork. It's not more work requirements. It's more paper work requirements. And what we know in places like the state of Arkansas is that does not promote more productivity and more work. In fact, it goes in the opposite direction. Because if you get your driver's license, we know we don't have to renew them for every 4 years. But what if they told you got to renew every 6 months? Who has time for that?
I'll probably be riding dirty. I'm not even gonna lie.
Forget life happens. You're doing things, and so that's essentially what they're trying to do to folks who are on these programs. And as a person who grew up, I've shared my story in committee. My mom was on SNAP. I had seizures growing up as a child, and so if you don't know when your child is going to have a seizure, that is crippling for a parent. Like going to a 9 to 5 is not your highest priority, not because you don't want to, but because you're fearful if your child has a seizure. You have to be able to get there. And my mom was on public transportation too, so SNAP was something that we utilized to make ends meet, but not because she wanted to. I can assure you, she didn't wake up wanting to be on these programs. And the fact that these folks that are on the programs are getting $6 a day, which breaks down to $2 a meal, $2 a meal per person. Like, you can't get a cup of coffee.
You cannot.
For $6.
And it hasn't risen at all. It's been the same for eternity.
Yeah, it's been flat. So, meanwhile, you got the welfare king, Elon Musk, getting $8 million a day. And y'all talking about folks who are just using programs to make ends meet. You want to take those things away. So I took it very personal.
Yes, definitely. The whole ordeal, the Project 2025. I think I was a little bit discouraged by people because I feel like the administration is they lie all day. Yes. But they are very consistent in what they say they're going to do for a lot of these things. They've been consistent. He showed you the first time, and then he tells you things that he plans on doing. And I feel like people were like, well, maybe he, like, how are you a farmer? And 60% of your employees are undocumented.
So the cozy mood, shea butter and warm sugar is where it's at. Or maybe you're more in a champagne spritz and roses type mood. Whatever the mood, set it with one of these Febreze Air Mist fragrances today.
Vote for this administration, when they told you
Talk about it.
that they're gonna get them and send them home, they absolutely told you that.
They're very clear.
And now you're like,
You
I'm gonna be
surprised.
shut down in 2 days if
It's so crazy.
nobody's showing up to work because they're scared. And
Yeah.
you know, it's really it's deep.
It is.
It's deep to me. It's deep to me.
It is.
And I want to touch on the DEI situation.
Ooh, okay.
We must talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
You know, if you want to put that out here and say a lot of programs are discriminating against everybody when you make them specific to blacks, to brown people, to women, if you want to put that out there, that's one thing. If you want to say from here on out we're going to stop this, but when you start erasing history,
Immediately.
you want to take down the museums, you want to take away the art, you want to take away the books, but that's not what. How does that play into DEI to me? I just don't understand. Like, how do you feel about that? I mean, do you guys? I know you all are very passionate, especially being a black woman, which is, you know, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. You know, the feeling of talking to these people, and it's like talking to a brick wall. How can you explain how that is a part of DEI? It has nothing to do with it. Like, what do you think can be done to stop this erasure, this huge erasure of Black history?
Yeah. So I think there's a couple of ways that we have to go about this, and I often say this when I'm out in the community, is that it has to be a three-pronged approach, and that's the Congress, the courts, and the community, right? And we have seen this administration, when we use the power of our pen, or when their colleagues, Republican colleagues, say this is something that is harmful, they reverse course. But specifically on DEI, we have to call it what it is, right? We have to call it diversity, equity, and inclusion, because those are good words.
Yeah,
And
they
try to make them bad words, but those are good words.
Yeah.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion. So making sure that we understand what they're trying to take away is diversity, equity, and inclusion, because we know DEI has become a dog whistle for black, or
Yeah,
for
it has.
anything that is not a white male, straight white male, right? So DEI, and so it's incredible that they have the audacity to try to say that they want to base things on merit when you have folks like the WWFE or whatever lady running the Department of Education.
None of them.
No
None of
qualifications.
them.
The Pete Hegseth, the Fox News weekend host. He wasn't even every day.
wasn't the main host.
On the weekend. Like, y'all just elevated this man to the secretary. Like,
How scary.
it is scary.
Yeah.
It is so scary. I mean, we're not gonna talk about Signalgate, right? You know,
Mhm.
twice y'all
Mhm.
texting war plans with not even knowing who in the group chat. Just reckless. But this is the people y'all saying are merit based and qualified. No. And I think that we have to remind folks of how what things are like now under their leadership, so that they understand that diversity, equity, and inclusion was a good thing.
Yeah.
It was a good thing. And when we had people who were actually bringing diverse ideas, who were creating an environment where people who have been historically left behind are now getting an opportunity, a seat at the table, including folks of different backgrounds, veterans, disabled,
Veterans,
LGBTQ, all of it. Like, it
Yes.
all matters. Those diversity of thought brings
Yes,
ideas, and
yes.
it really is our strength, and we
Yes.
should welcome that, because we are a nation of immigrants.
A whole nation of
Listen,
immigrants.
everybody's on stolen land, okay?
Right.
So when it's like, well, I'm an American, it's like, so am I.
The whole
But we are not
situation.
Yeah.
native
Exactly.
Americans, so it's like everybody's stealing something. So
Yeah, and then we talk. I ain't gonna even talk about the fact that we talking about a man with kids from immigrants. Like, you want other people's babies deported,
Please.
and then saying the mama can go if you don't want to separate the families.
Ooh.
But we can go on and on about
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
But the thing I think is important as a member of Congress too, when he reversed course on the executive order that was put in place at the urging of Martin Luther King Jr. When LBJ was in office, the Equal Employment Opportunity Act. So I have introduced legislation to codify that, to make it law, and this was something that Democrat, Republican presidents supported since Lyndon Baines Johnson. Now here he comes And with the power of his pen, is able to reverse course on something that has been in place for decades, for longer than we've been alive. So it is very frustrating. It is a very much promoting of resegregation.
Oh yes, absolutely.
It's abundantly clear, and so
abundantly clear.
So
yes.
and they're not shy about it.
No,
and
not a secret.
unapologetic.
It's not.
I can't even open my phone sometimes. It's so political. I'll be like, I can't get angry like that first thing in the morning.
You gotta pray and meditate.
Mm-hmm.
And I was definitely going to ask you, like, how do you balance this forward movement, boots on the ground? Like, how do you manage still holding on to those grassroots and being grounded in the midst of all of this chaos?
Yeah, so I like I mentioned, I have a great circle of friends. I have an amazing team as my support system. Even my staff is great, very responsive to the needs of the community. So that takes a lot of the load off. And then I am actively involved in my church.
God first.
Yes, gotta have God. Yes. I don't know what I would do without our Heavenly Father. Like, cause I'd be like, God, I cannot go to jail today.
Right.
Look, that is a black woman's prayer. I could not go to jail today.
On a constant.
Maybe tomorrow, but not today.
Crazy. I'll be like, and I'll be like, I'm just building your character. You got this.
That's the
Shontel.
way you gotta look at it. That's how you gotta look at it.
I like that.
It's character. So we get a lot of character building moments in the halls of Congress. But I'm also a lover of music. Like I practically every day, I gotta hear something and music can have a very strong impact on how I'm feeling. So
Absolutely.
my playlists go from Corinne Hawthorne to Cardi B, and it could be on the same, like right after the other. I could be listening to gospel and then Bodak Yellow, just like was she just cussing and are you praising the Lord? Like, yes.
He knows my heart. He knows that I need to listen to this
So I have my favorite playlist that gets me through, that keeps me motivated. And then, like I said, I have an amazing group of friends in Congress that, we keep each other grounded. We have a group chat where we just, if it weren't for them, I probably would be like just going crazy. But because they have a circle of friends who share this experience. Because the rare thing is, I don't know if people realize this, but it's been 60 women in the entire history. 60 black women. 60 black women. 60 black women.
Wow.
60 black women since Shirley Chisholm. There's been 60 of us, right? And in the entire history, there's been about 12,000, but only 60 have served in this space. And so I have an amazing legacy, with being the successor of Marsha Fudge, who was the successor of Stephanie Tubbs Jones, and Lou Stokes, who demanded that we have reflective representation. Like, this seat wouldn't exist without him. So the rich legacy that this seat has is also something that, like, inspires me and keeps me going.
And it's bigger than you.
It's bigger than me. Like, and so I have to honor them, because they went through a lot more than I did. And I had a great mentor in Secretary Fudge. She prepared me for a lot of these things, and some things she just couldn't prepare me for. Like, who knew we would have 2 wars happening simultaneously? Who knew that Donald Trump would get back in office?
Who knew that?
So,
He knew.
woo, child.
Look, we gotta talk about that.
So that's how I survived. But it is it's such a high honor to be able to serve in this position. It is truly the greatest honor of my life.
And because of that honor, I want to touch on the fact that I see you.
Yeah.
I don't just hear your name. I don't just hear about what you're doing. I see you. I see you out in the community. I see you supporting. I see you supporting small business. We end up at the same spaces. That's how this happened.
Yes. Divine intervention strikes again.
Yes. But yes, I see you supporting, and that means so much for us to not just, see you on TV, not just hear about, your policies and what you believe in, but to actually, I see that smiling face coming in the room to these events, supporting small business, and that's important. People know that you care. People know that you care when we see that. And I know that you we had a conversation the first time I met you, and I know that you feel strongly about supporting small businesses.
Oh, 100%.
And you just had an event right before you came here about housing.
Yes.
Let's talk about how important that is to you, about housing, about people, whatever you guys went over at the event. I think Steve attended and was able to come before coming here, but
Thank you, Steve.
touch on that for us, please.
Yes. So one of the things that we recognize as an office in the 11th Congressional District is that it feels like home ownership is less and less attainable.
Mm-hmm.
It's housing.
Oh yeah.
How affordable housing is becoming harder to access. It feels like that. And thanks to the leadership of Secretary Fudgeman, she was the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. She put some policies in place that really advance home ownership, specifically for Black folks. Under her leadership, over 250,000 Black homeowners came out under her leadership, and so that is because she was very intentional about policies, things like changing or including your rent payment history as part of your credit building to be able to access loans. And so for me, I wanted to make sure that people who wanted this information would have access to it. So creating a one-stop shop, whether you were looking to learn how to build your credit, whether you're looking for financial institutions that would be able to help you get a loan, whether you're looking to renovate housing, whether you're looking to age in place if you're a senior. I wanted all of this information in a one-stop shop. And so we had a house party today. We did a little line dancing too. So
I saw you. I said, she better be on time while she love you better fan. I said she better be on time. I was on time.
And I know you got a fan.
Yes,
I know you do.
But we wanted it to be fun, but we also wanted to be informative, right? And so, and because I feel like, my team is very good about making sure that my personality comes across in my work, right? So we want things to be fun, but also informative and productive. And so we had breakout sessions on key things. We had utilities available, utility companies on site. So anything to do with housing, we wanted, again, to make it very easy for the community to access. And so we had about 700 people. And that was, that does my heart good. And
Bring
this
them
is
out.
So that's the thing. Like, we want people to walk away better and more informed than when they came.
So speaking of people doing better, we are in an era where Black women are popping their fans and minding their business because we just feel like it's just a struggle, and it's like, you know what,
The
we
92%
warned y'all.
club, the 92%.
So
Yeah.
what would you say to a young person who's thinking about getting into politics or wants to be an agent for change? Like, what advice would you give to them?
Oh, so I love this question because it is there's so many things that people can do in this space. You don't necessarily have to be the congresswoman. You can, but you don't have to. I have, again, folks that do a great deal of work behind the scenes that never get the glory or never get the attention. And so if you're like a person that likes to work behind the scenes but still want to get things done, there's caseworkers, there's my district office manager, I do shout her out a lot, my deputy chief of staff, Kim Hodge Edwards. There are, we need graphic designers. We need people to help us with comms. There's always something to be done in this space. And so you don't have to limit it to being the elected official. You don't have to limit yourself to putting yourself out there on the front lines, if you will. There are things that you can do to really be a change agent and be effective in that space. And so I want people to just think about what it is that they like to do and how they can lean into that. When we have kids, students come to DC, I tell them, if you like fashion, some of us like stylists, some of us need makeup artists. It's you can do anything, and politics is in every aspect of your life. Like, whatever you're doing, politics touches that, and I think that that's the important connection that people need to realize. And it's too often, it's the people who are least engaged that are the most impacted.
And I was just gonna say, because we had that conversation earlier about the non-voters. I don't need to vote because he got in last time, he'll probably get in this time. So what would you say to the person who is probably being affected by all the changes that are happening, but they don't vote? I know.
I would, the first thing I think that we need to do is stop trying to tell people what they think is important to them. We have to ask questions and ask what's important to them, and then be able to draw that through line from what you think is important to how politics is impacting it. And the fact of the matter is, again, politics touches everything from this podcast being, regulated by what we can post on social media, to how fast we can drive on our streets, to when the time our trash gets picked up, to the curriculum that you learn in school. Like, everything is impacted by politics. And so I think we have to be savvy enough to be able to draw that through line to folks who think that it's not going to change their life. And I know that politics doesn't move at lightning speed. And so people feel disenfranchised, like, I vote and my life didn't change. Or at least didn't change for the better. Right? And I think that we can tap into that part, that you may not have changed for the better, but maybe that's because you didn't participate and elect the right people.
Buzz. We have a buzzer. We Brandon buzzes it when the jewels are being dropped. The buzzer. I said, let's cut out the buzzer because there are going to be several jewels dropped, and we will be buzzing all day. We'll be buzzing all day. I know you talked about the church, and I know you talked about your village, or your foundation, your support system, and I know that it has to get very frustrating trying to make the change right now with this administration. What else gives you hope? What gives you hope to feel like things are going to change and things will get better and we can get through this?
Y'all, the people, the community, because when I see people who are engaging folks, who are connecting with folks, who are making sure that they are uplifting the work that we're doing, who are informing people, I'm encouraged by that. It really replenishes my spirit and gives me the energy to go back to Washington, D.C. and fight like mad. And we're able to, like, we did a lot of great things under the Biden-Harris administration. Contrary to what people think, government does move slow, but we were able to get some things like capping the price of insulin at $35.
Oh yeah.
Same thing with medication for asthma, inhalers, things like that. And it just doesn't move as fast, but being able to see that we've been able to bring 450 projects to Ohio by virtue of the bipartisan infrastructure law, those type of things are the things that keep me encouraged. And then seeing people, really interested in how they can be more engaged and civically responsible, it gives me so much hope for the future, because I think the more I know, in fact, I know the more people participate, the better and the faster I think we can get things done.
I think that a lot of people they have a tendency to just believe what they hear on the radio or what they see on television, and a lot of people don't do their research to know that there were a lot of great changes made and a lot of things got done under the Biden-Harris administration. Speaking of things that need to be changed, I know I heard you spoke about your opposition to the fact that they're trying to lower the age of dependent children. That's insane. Real quick, I feel like you said, it's trying to go to segregation, and I feel like they're trying to force all of these firings and forcing all these people off of all of these programs. It's basically forcing them to have to do these jobs that they're putting the immigrants out for. But how can you say an 8-year-old, like you said, is not a dependent?
I never got an answer. I asked a question in two separate.
Is there an answer?
Two separate committees. No,
you can't explain yourself.
They really don't think the policies through. One person tried to say, well, 7 is the age where kids have to go to school. Like, no, the age is actually 5. So no, so you're mistaken on that point. And the fact of the matter is, even if they do, kids don't go to school year round, and they certainly don't. The hours of school don't align with a business work day. School is not 9 to 5, 8 to 5. Kids got out of school 2:30, 3 o'clock. So what are they supposed to do from then until
go to work?
Okay,
some strawberries.
Okay, all right. And that part, and let's not. What about the summer? What about spring breaks? What about winter break? Like, what are these kids supposed to do? And so. They had no response. Like I said, they did not participate. We had a 16-hour hearing And Republicans did not try to defend any of these positions because I know that they believe that they realize they are indefensible. And the other thing that they did, they started some of these committees at 1 o'clock in the morning. The Rules Committee started at 1 o'clock in the morning and went until like 5 o'clock. Not 5 a.m. the next day, but the next, like not 5 a.m. that morning, but 5 a.m. the next day. So that's a committee that ran like 29 hours. Like, this is crazy. And we did everything that we could to try to put the most pertinent information before the American people during daylight hours, because they had their way. They just would have passed it in the shadows in the middle of the night without anybody knowing what they were doing, right? And so it's just, those are the type of folks that I work with. So keep me in prayer, ladies.
Absolutely.
Always.
Sure.
Always.
Absolutely. So we do have some staple questions that we like to ask all of our guests. First thing I want to touch on for one quick second, though, is the importance of knowing how government is run. It's almost like I think Harvard is offering classes.
Well, they ain't getting the money from the
I'm like,
government.
Not a dime.
We thank them for their services.
To try to show people how government is run, so you know how things take place, and you don't just listen to what you hear, and you know who did what and how it's being done. That I think that's very important. I think more people need to absolutely do their research. And those 3 questions, I'm going to stem from that.
Okay.
And the 3 questions, I'll start with the first one. And that is because we see you out and about, and we see you in places, and we know you believe in small business and supporting us. Like, what are some events or a collaboration that you'd like to do on an event? Who is your dream person to do a collaboration with?
Y'all, thank you. Yes, I'm living the dream. I am living the dream. And I do an event already, a small business expo, and this was my 3rd year doing it. And we bring in every level of government. We bring in nonprofit agencies. We bring in a lot of different folks. So if you're an aspiring entrepreneur, if you're a business that's already established and looking to grow, we have an event where we try to make it a one-stop shop, because as a recovering entrepreneur, God bless y'all, I love y'all.
Recovery.
As a recovering entrepreneur, exactly.
It is.
Exactly. It's a grind, right?
Yes.
And so, but what I realized is that I would like to establish something that really made it a one-stop shop, so that when I come in, I can leave with all of the things, all of my questions answered. So even if you're aspiring, folks can leave there with their LLC established. And so that's the type of thing. Yeah. And so we have financial institutions, people are looking to get access to capital to help grow their businesses, all the things I wanted answers to when I was a small business. And so that is what I've done. And I know that small businesses are really what runs the nation. Like you are so you employ the people, our neighbors, and these big box chains and things like that, not knocking them, but it's the small businesses that really are the economic engine of America. And so it's important to me to be able to try to, again, establish an institutional event that, again, we've in our 3rd year, it was in May during Small Business Month, to have people who want to navigate this space be able to find the resources and the tools in one place. And so that's important to me because I lived it. So I'm bringing my own personal experiences and trying to improve everyone else's experience based off of what I learned, or what wasn't available to me when I did it.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time because of the fact that we do interview businesses in Cleveland. That the first part is the dream, but you have to know about the business aspect of it. And so many people can lose their business or just not know how to scale their business because they don't have that information and that education. So that's much needed, and that's a great collaboration to offer the city.
Yeah, and like I said, we bring in every level of government. We bring in the federal, the state, the county, and different city entities. The city of Cleveland, city of Warrensville, I think, is on site. And so I'm just trying to give people, because people want to come in and like, well, how do I get a contract with the government? Okay, well, you go over here to that workshop. How do I get access to capital? Go over here to the lending workshop. So we wanted to make sure that they could get their questions answered on site.
And that was one of our questions. How do you get contracts, government contracts?
No, seriously, that's been on our to-do list.
So we actually, so it's funny, we get that question a lot, and we don't actually, we're not the ones who dictate or determine the contracts, but we have I have an amazing person in my office, Amber Joyner. She is our grants coordinator, and so we can't write the grants, but we can point you to the right direction and tell you where some grants might be available. As it relates to contracts, we have that workshop that we do, but we can put you in connection to other entities that help do that work all the time. And so it is accessible, it is available, but it takes some time. So sometimes some people have the time, but not the resources, and some people have the resources and not the time. So it takes a little bit of both, because you got the thing that these larger institutions have is the resources and the time, right? They have a specific person that will just sit and write grants all day, and that's all they're paid to do. But when you, as a day-to-day business person, you might not have the ability to do that.
No, I
you
don't.
might not have.
You said no,
right,
I don't.
right. You know, but there are grant writers out there that might be able to assist you. You know, because we know in business we figure out what we're good at, what we can do, and then we have to bring other people onto our team to delegate. So
absolutely. You're living the dream, right? And I just want to say, like, in these moments when you're trying to navigate so many things at one time, what is your hope? I'm gonna say towards the end of this administration. And what is the end goal? What is the end dream?
Yeah, so good.
question.
I was gonna say good question. It is what is the goal is. So there's a couple of things, but the main goal for us right now as Democrats, we want to get back into the majority, because my sweetheart Antoine C. Wright, he says losers don't legislate. You know, we when you lose the election, you don't get to make the rules. So we gotta win. So we gotta make sure we get the majority back. We gotta make sure that we get in a position where we can. As people have also talked about impeachment. Well, we're not gonna get an impeachment because we don't have.
We've already been impeached.
And he's done everything. Nobody said a word.
Right.
So just
so it's like, so we got to do things and invest our time and energy in things that make sense. But when we get back into the majority, then that means we get to decide what the policies are going to be pushed. And so, how do we get back to lowering costs for folks? How do we get back to making sure that those student loans are not garnished?
Where is my buzzer? Oh, please.
Garnished, that start turning into garnished payments at the drop of a dime. So thinking about how we can improve the quality of life of folks. And so that's what we'll be focused on when we get back into the majority. That's the dream. And then, speaking of dream, we will be able to have Hakeem Jeffries become the Speaker of the House, and he'll be the first black man.
Cool.
Yes.
So Hakeem the Dream.
Yes, Hakeem the Dream. I'm all for it.
That's what we're trying to get to.
I am all for it, for sure. Last question is, Sam just touched on it a bit, but what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? What legacy do you want to leave behind that support system, and also for your place in Congress and personally, on a personal level? What kind of legacy would Shontel Brown like to leave behind?
So, this is a legacy seat. I describe it as such because we have an event in October called the Legacy event, and where we honor the people that came before me.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so I just want people to remember me for being a person that actually, like I said, actually cared, that showed up, responded to the community. I'm not out here pushing them a personal agenda. I try to respond to the needs and make sure that I'm delivering for the people who have given their trust in me to represent them in Washington, D.C. And so just making sure I do that, and that I make the people proud, and that I make my parents proud. Like, I'm a person that tries to lead by example. I have 6 nieces and nephews, so 3 nieces, 3 nephews, whom I affectionately refer to as my birth control. Okay. But I want to lead by example. I want them to look back and look at their aunt and say, you know what, she was a lot of things, but one of the things that she was always was a person that tried to do right by others and tried to do good for others. And so that's what I hope people will remember me for.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. We see you out here doing the work, and we appreciate you so much.
Thank
and we
you,
also
ladies.
appreciate you spending the time to sit down with us.
This was
We
fun.
had Shontel
Yes.
Brown on the pull up, y'all.
I was on the pull up. I was on the pull up. Episode 292.
Episode
Where y'all at?
292. Exactly. Real quick, that's what I love about you. You are unapologetically you. And it's
Yes.
genuine, and it comes across that way. And we know that you are going to fight for us.
Thank you.
Thank you once again for joining us. Guys, this is episode 292. Congresswoman Shontel Brown is in the building
Yes.
with the pull-up experience. Thank you all for tuning in. We want to thank you because we know y'all watching this one for sure.
Oh, yeah. You already
But
know.
y'all show up and show out for us anytime. And we appreciate you guys. And thank you so much for tuning in. Peace.
Peace.